A lone elven woman trudges through the snow. Her long red hair whips back the hood of her cloak as a gust of icy wind and snow pushes against her. The blizzard was unrelenting, but she had a task to complete. In the ice, she carved and carved symbols and shapes, long strokes and lines. Finally, she took her dagger, piercing her finger, allowing her blood to flow into the carvings. An enormous magic circle lit up, large enough for it to be hard to see the far end. Suddenly, from the center of the circle, a spire sprouted. Up, up, up it went, and following behind...
Wait. Cassiel, how do you even know this happened? Wasn't she alone?
You're right, Leissac. I wasn't even born yet.
Then how do you know it happened?
Well, my mom told me how she made our house.
So your mom made an entire castle out of ice through magic?
Yup, she's pretty awesome.
Wasn't it slippery or cold?
Well, we had carpets and it was magic so it wouldn't melt, so we had plenty of fireplaces. And that's besides the point. Don't interrupt, I just started the story.
Oh, sorry, man.
It's fine. You're my best friend, man. You're the only one I can talk to nowadays anyway.
Well, we don't really talk. This is, it's all telepathy.
Well, that's true. You can't read my mind, even though we talk in our heads so much, though, right?
You scared to let me know what you're thinking?
Well, sometimes it seems like you know exactly what I need to hear, or exactly what would hurt me the most.
Well, that's just because we spend so much time together. Anyways, please continue with your story.
The woman carefully constructed her palace of ice and adorned it with simple vestments of comfort. She was not terribly wealthy, despite her royal nature. She was a musician and actress, a powerful mage, and a highly educated woman in most things scholarly. She'd been around for a very long time. She knew not if she had any family left. She'd returned to Chase to find solitude, but she grew tired and lonely. Soon, she had a child, and her whole world began to revolve around that boy.
All right, hold up. I think you skipped a bit there.
What do you mean?
Well, how did she suddenly have a child? Who's the dad, for instance?
I don't know all the details, but my mom made it pretty clear that I don't have a father.
Like, he ran away, and she disowned him?
No, there never was a dad to begin with.
What?
Listen, man, I don't know. Mom didn't really like to talk about it, but clearly it's not a normal situation. Dark elves don't normally have bronze skin and gold plants growing out of their foreheads, now do they?
Well, that's fair. All right, keep going.
The child grew strong and healthy, and grew up as a prince in a castle. They had an aptitude for magic, like their mother, though they showed only mild interest in the subject, so his mother never forced the issue. Shays was a frozen place, and just as frozen as the land was, the people were frozen in their ways and traditions. The castle was halfway between the only two settlements on the entire island. Fort Garrow, on the banks of the island, was home to all the trade and commerce. The greenhouse domes provided a vast majority of the commerce in the city, followed by the mines, the entertainment district, and the many adventurers that came through to clear the Zans and some to attempt the tower. The other settlement was the encampment of the bugbear tribes. While they may not have been traditionally civilized, they had a deep culture and performed a number of different business interactions with Fort Garrow. Being the literal middleman, the queen of the castle began to mediate the interactions between the settlements. She also began her own trade of taming the local remoras. Nasty as the bug monstrosities were, she was powerful enough to make cattle out of them. They were both valuable as heat sources, magical ingredients, and food. It was a profitable business, but also a pricey one. The little prince often wondered why the queen had to work so hard. As he grew and became involved with the merchantry side of the business, he wondered why a prince like himself had to work so hard. He was in charge of selling the creatures and all the business side of the operation. He was good with people, so he didn't terribly mind, but he wanted far better for his mother. On one such business trip to the fort, the prince found himself desiring to get his mother a gift. The biggest celebration of the year was upon them, the Sun Festival. The one day in the year that the sun would actually rise above the horizon and the storm. It would start the day before, last the whole day, and conclude itself the day after. Many rituals and activities were scheduled to happen. Not that any of them mattered to the prince. His mother was reclusive. She hid herself away during these times for various reasons. The prince knew that the queen felt awful during these times, and felt guilty for having the prince miss the festivals as well. To cheer the queen up, he decided to get her a bouquet of flowers, an expensive gift, as only one of the greenhouses specialized in flowers, but a gift that would be worth it. Inside the greenhouse, however, he found something far more precious and beautiful than flowers. A young lady tending the garden amidst the most important flower of the year, the day-death bloom, a flower which had a very unique interaction with sunlight and would be used in the ceremonies of the festival, so the prince wanted to get some for his mother. The gardener there was a gentle girl, as young as the prince. Fine Raiden was far more bold and more exciting than him. The prince found himself drawn to her brightness. The dark elf gardener was drawn to the prince's unique nature. She loved her garden, and to see golden growth from another elf's forehead fascinated her.
Wait, are you telling me you got the girl 'cause you have a plant growing out from your forehead and she liked plants?
No. I like to believe it had something to do with my wit and charm.
It was the plant, wasn't it?
Okay. That's what she always teased me about, alright? But I'm sure there was more to it.
Well, it's all in the past now. Wait. Also, wasn't Raiden a big family?
Oh, yeah. Straight up nobility. They owned the dome from the flowers and herbs.
Oh, dang. How did that work out?
Well, I didn't know she was nobility when I started courting her. In fact, I didn't even find out until I asked her to marry me.
Oh, wow. How did that go?
Well, needless to say, her father was not a fan of the poor outlander merchant that I was. But he warmed up after he saw the first grandchild.
Wait, don't elves wait a while to have kids?
Well, apparently, I'm not like normal elves in that regard either, okay? And I was getting there, but you interrupted me.
Sorry. Keep going then.
The prince had found his princess, and though there were many struggles, they were happy. The princess got along wonderfully with the queen, and the two grew very close quickly. The couple lived inside the enormous ice palace, as there was plenty of space, and after a few years they were blessed with a child. They called her Tess, and she was the light of the castle. The prince worked even harder now to try and give his new family the prosperous life a royal family deserved. He began to chase more and more wealth, but struggled to find it. He grew more obsessed with the idea that they needed more than they had. Finally, a tragedy occurred that pushed the prince over the edge. A monster attacked the castle. The monster was an intelligent and cunning one, and was searching for the prince. The queen, however, was not one to be trifled with, and fought the monster off. Unfortunately, she was grievously injured during the battle. While she could still perform her duties taming monstrosities, she lacked much of the strength she once had. Recovery was slow, and the prince blamed himself for the injury. Just a year later, a second little heir was born to the family. Belle brought new joy to the castle, but the prince also felt even more responsibility. The prince worked hard and found his respite in the fort after work. He discovered that he was quite adept at gambling. He was skilled in all the various games, but especially with cards. He spent many an evening gambling away what he had earned for the day, often gaining, sometimes losing. The success was intoxicating. On business trips, he found himself occasionally going to the closest of the other islands for brief times, and he would find himself gambling there as well. The prince established a name for himself by winning competitions and for his unique look. They called him the Gilded Hand, the Bronze Mask, and the Card Coin Prince. He loved the thrill, and he lost sight of who he was and why he wanted wealth in the first place. Life at home remained pleasant, as the prince won more than he lost and used a disguise while he gambled. Nobody in the castle was all the wiser. This was his life for nearly 5 years. It had started after the attack and showed no signs of slowing down. The prince thought he was happy, thought he was doing it for his family. He loved his wife and 2 daughters deeply and told himself that it was for them. As his behavior escalated, he got involved with some unsavory types. He didn't want his family to notice if he lost money, so he tried to make a little extra through less than legal means. A few cons here or there, and a few times breaking into the estates to find out dirt on the people he would be gambling against, that he could use to unsettle them, or even blackmail. He was always carefully disguised, and despite a few close calls, he was never caught.
Come on, man. You became a criminal.
Yes, I did. And it's a miracle I never got caught.
How did it go so far? So low?
I told myself it was for my family. It was an easy justification. One that made me feel noble and proud.
How on earth did you think it was actually for your family? They would never have approved.
Leissac, it wasn't... It is a terrible addiction, and I've paid the price for it. One day, the opportunity of a lifetime presented itself. A traveler came into town, speaking of an enormous gambling competition that would happen all the way in Brom. The reward for the competition was to triple whatever you made, and a special prize that was to be priceless. The prince couldn't stop thinking of it, telling himself it would be his last time he lied to his family. He told them he'd be making the biggest business trip they'd ever had, and would be back in a few weeks, and he left for Brom. The prince was amazed by the gilded city of Brom. He'd never seen so much wealth, and he'd never been more on top of his game. He hit the competition hard. He struggled at first, but quickly found himself thriving in his element. He won again and again. He acquired fortune after fortune, all the way till he stood on top. He had won the competition. His luck had finally pulled through. His skill was about to finally be recognized. The final prize was to be glorious. The owner of the casino was a giant of a man, and took him to a private room to give him his prize. The owner placed a deck of cards on a table in front of the prince. The prize was to be determined by drawing a card. The owner said that the deck of cards was a powerful magic item, and that could grant even the wildest of wishes. All the prince had to do was draw a card. The prince loved cards, and with all the adrenaline in his system, noticed the heinous smile on the owner's face only moments after the card was drawn.
And now you're here.
And now I'm here. The two of them sat inside a white, semi-opaque sphere. Surrounding them was a sea of gold and platinum coins. Odd treasures poked out of the coins, and the cavern roof almost reflected the brilliant glow that came from the gilded sea. Pylons of magical lights revealed that the cave was seemingly endless, though the rolling hills of gold blocked the view. However, just in sight of the pair was an enormous creature. White platinum fur and scarlet red paws. It was finishing a feast, yet another beast had come to challenge, to no avail. Do you think he'll come and attack us when he's done?
Nah, doesn't matter. Can't break this bubble. He's tried.
True.
How long has it been since you've been here?
Well, I used to be able to tell the passage of time without a pocket watch, or a son. But that ability has long since left me.
So, you have no idea how long?
Well, I tried counting with tallies, but it was difficult to tell. The prince turns his head to see the other side of the bubble, which was covered in red marks. His attempt to tally the passage of time. How long have you been here, Leissac?
Don't you remember? I came to try to get you to stop counting the coins.
Oh, that's right. Well, there wasn't really anything else to do before you came.
That's true enough.
Well, what do you want to talk about?
Well, why don't you tell me your life story again?
Again?
Well, you don't want to forget who you are, right?
Oh, okay, well, it started with a lone elven woman walking.
Suddenly, a long black needle protrudes from the center of Leissac's forehead. Leissac only has a chance to smile before the bubble around the prince shatters into thousands of pieces. The prince looks around himself, stunned, picking up a handful of the white powder that was once the bubble.
Leissac?
A man stands before the prince. On his back is an enormous sack, and in one of his hands is a black needle, and the other hand a black pocket watch, which he stares at intently. All right, what was the time dilation here again? The man mumbles to himself. The prince struggles to stand up and shout, "Who are you?" to the man, but quickly realizes that he hasn't stood up in, how long was it? And he hasn't spoken out loud for even longer. His throat is so dry, he can't speak. All right, stranger. Let's get out of here. I think the time dilation is around 10, so I've made the proper adjustments. Let's go. The man grabs the prince's arm and clicks a button on his stopwatch. In a sudden whirl of light and sensation, the prince finds himself blinded by the sunlight in his eyes. Sunlight, sky, a breeze. The prince is almost too shell-shocked to react, but the stream of fluid coming from his eyes tells the strange man that he's still alive. Well, my friend, my name is Jimothy, a traveling salesman at your service. Now, who are you and how did you get down there? Seeing the prince's attempt to speak with no success, he points his finger at the prince and relays the message again, telepathically.
I'm Cassiel.
How long were you trapped in there?
I don't know.
Well, the least I can do is to get you semi-functional again. But you're gonna have some problems, buddy.
How long?
Well, let's get some food and probably a lot of potions. And I'd normally charge you, but even I'm not that inhumane to do that to someone coming from solitary confinement for who knows how long. Jimothy brings Cassiel into a small hut and begins to clean him and give him a number of potions and supplements, as well as cast a number of spells. This one here will help you regain some muscle control, something you look like you need. But it's the cheap stuff, because I'm not giving you the good stuff for free. It'll take longer with this stuff, though. You'll probably take about a week or two to be self-sufficient with these. I don't really want to spend that time, but you'll just have to owe me a debt in time, too.
Where are we?
Oh, well, right now we're in a little town called Stagrest, on the Isle of Acheta.
Acheta? I need to go to Shays. My family.
Hold on, buddy. How long were you in that place?
I don't know.
What year was it when you got stuck? And can you even remember that?
I think it was the 72nd year after the emergence.
It's year 153 now, so it's like what, 81 years ago?
$81 years? My kids, they're adults now. I need to go. I need to see.
Hold on, buddy. I know 81 years isn't long for an elf, but with a time dilation of 10, you've been in there alone a lot longer. See, with a basic math time dilation of 10, so long as the time dilation stayed consistent, which there's no saying it did, but just guessing, oh boy, you poor man.
I'm not poor.
Oh, you are poor. In every sense of the word, my friend. You've been inside that white bubble for at least 800 years. I have no idea how you're not insane from being isolated for that long.
I can't trust you. Where's Leissac? What did you do to him? He was with me. What?
I'm sorry. Who?
That ending felt good.
Do you want to do any talking about it?
Yeah, sure. I didn't know that was a thing we did.
Yeah, we can if you want. Nothing long. So how long did it take you to write this?
I sat down for like 3 or 4 hours once and was like, cranked it all. I mean, we had talked about his background plenty beforehand.
Yeah.
So like I knew the structure of his story. But, like, what details I wanted to share, what little hints, I had to figure that out. What, like, the platinum beast that they saw the back of, I, like, was debating, like, do I share that? And I was like, probably, because that's the only other creature that Cassiel has seen in a long time, so I should mention it.
I remember we talked about it when we were talking about the idea of you writing this, and I remember we were talking about potentially having him be hitting on the bubble.
Yeah.
And you mentioning to Leissac, like, it's so noisy. And Leissac being like, yeah, the neighbors are kind of loud. Or something like that.
Yeah. Just the way how it had flowed at that point, I was like, I'll mention him back there. It's kind of like a little thing. But
I liked it. It was good. Yeah. It was a lot of fun. I got to introduce Jimothy. Oh,
Jimothy. Gotta love Jimothy.
My favorite character. Which I guess the listeners have
no
idea.
At this point, they haven't met him. I don't know if we will by the time this episode gets released.
Probably not.
Well, next time we were going to record, you were going to do a world event, which...
That's true. Hey, you know what? One of the world events is not Jimothy, but I could throw him on.
He might show up.
It's possible. It's always possible. He is on everywhere you go. Running into Jimothy is on my random encounter table. And he's the nat 20
he's
on
the
every
nat 20.
Random encounter table.
And nobody knows Jimothy. We can maybe give him some background on this background episode too. Jimothy comes from a previous campaign that we played like a decade ago with one of our friends, and Jimothy was just some random merchant that our buddy walked up to. Is there a merchant? Yeah, he's okay. We'll walk up to, and then it was Jimothy, and Jimothy scammed the heck out of our friend.
It was so funny.
It was hilarious, and then Jimothy turned into kind of like the Nurse Joy in that campaign. Every merchant everywhere was Jimothy.
Yeah,
and then
no, it wasn't everywhere. It was specifically at we were doing a campaign in the world of Eberron, and there's a jungle island of Eberron called Quibara, and so I made a store named Quibara Prime, like Amazon Prime.
That's right.
And every Quibara Prime store, there was a store in every town. Jimothy was the one running it. That's why he was like Nurse Joy.
Yeah. And then the character just was really fun and kind of stuck, and so I feel like you've probably put Jimothy in every other campaign since.
Every one of my campaigns at this point are connected to each other. And
through Jimothy.
kind of through Jimothy, but through like an overarching thing that I have that's connecting all of them. But Jimothy is one of the constants in every single world. I have 2 constants that I put in every world. One of them is Jimothy, and the other one is actually another person from your background that hopefully the people meet later. It's Chet.
Oh, it's Chet. Yeah, Chet. We'll tell you about Chet during that background episode if he hasn't shown up already.
He probably won't, but
Yeah.
we'll see. When Chet shows up, you'll know.
Yeah, he'll be in my next background episode because we're doing 2. If you guys didn't know,
They probably didn't, but now they do.
now they do. All right.
Well, I think probably end there. I'm Trent. I've been the DM for this.
I don't know if you've been
No,
hosting.
I was not the DM. I'm Trent, and I was Leissac and Jimothy and the narrator at the end.
And I'm David, and I was Cassiel, or the Prince. Thank you guys for listening. Hope you enjoyed it.
We'll see y'all next week.
Keep tuning in.